Mr. Malice, if you didn't know that already. Over to the side of me over here is Mystic Salon. All right. I know he looks depressed, but I promise he doesn't bite.
Not a hair salon, different kind of salon.
And between the both of us is ReAnimateHer. Good friend, fellow streamer, fellow witch. And what we're going to be talking about tonight is going to be focusing on the witchy side of things. That's going to be our focus this evening. We're not going to be talking too much about streaming.
Ooh, fun.
Right. So, oh, look, he just perked up. Right. He says, I got a little percolator. So, one of the reasons why I wanted to get Ra in here is because Ra always kind of mentions in passing that she's a witch, right? She mentions in passing that she reads tarot cards. Everything's in passing, but like you never really get like to the nitty gritty details of when did it start? You know, how long have you been doing it? Like, how deep do you go into it? Like, are you doing like regular rituals? Like, do you do spell work? You know, like what specific part of, you know, witchcraft do you consider yourself into? Is it Wiccan? Is it pagan as a general term? And I know that's a shitload of questions at one time, but you know.
Dang.
Not a problem.
So go for it.
You tell me when I'm ready to talk, and then I will go for it.
No, go for it.
Okay. I was born and raised in a Wiccan family. I was taught from a very young age paganism. As we know, paganism is the umbrella for all the other offshoots of Wiccan, because there's more than one, and Wiccan is a newer religion compared to paganism. As I got older, my mother had me learn about different religions to see which one would pull towards me. So I started learning about Buddhism, Judaism, a few other Catholic, and a couple others I don't remember. And I was pulled to Wiccan. And then learned how to do my Esbats and Sabbats and just the generic basic witchery stuff that we do. And as I got older, I spread my wings more. I call myself a witch, but I'm more of a light worker and have been dealing with light work and energy work for the last 7 years. So I read a lot of energies now instead of just card reading. I still do my rituals, but I bring in more deities. I bring in, instead of just bringing in my pagan and Wiccan deities, I bring in angels, archangels, anything that I feel like working with, whatever I'm going to work with. I am a Reiki master. I don't know if anyone knows what Reiki is, but I'm a Reiki master, and I've been a Reiki master for about 7 years since I started doing my light work, and I started teaching it. So I call myself a witch because that's exactly what I am. I do my spell casting. I don't believe magic is good or bad. I believe the person behind it is good or bad, and magic is the tool that we use, right? Just like a gun is the weapon that you utilize when you go hunting for food, right? And the person behind that can be either good or bad. I believe that we all have energies and our lights are bright, and certain things like to attack that, so shielding ourselves and keeping our energy protected. I read tarot cards. I've been reading. I since I was 16. I'm going to be 44 now, so been reading for that long. I no longer. I used to read as a story from my cards, but now I read the energy of my cards, and I read the energy of the people that I'm reading. Even if we're online like this, I can still feel energy and read what that person is feeling or sensing, or intuition. You know.
Awesome. I mean, that definitely kind of went down the long list of things that I mentioned. Might I add?
I tried to remember everything you asked, so I can answer it.
Well, might I add? You do not look 44.
Oh, no, thank you.
No kidding. Yeah. Never would have guessed that.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Like I remember the first time you told me you were a grandmother. I was like, wait, what?
Grandma 3.
Right. Yeah, and no, and exactly that. Like not just a grandma, like one kid. Like it wasn't like an offshoot. No, like there's 3 grandkids. Which
An
means it was
offshoot.
planned at some point, right?
So they call it now, an offshoot.
Sometimes that happens, right? You get a younger mother that they have a kid, and their kid has a kid. At an unexpected point, which was what I would call like the offshoot, which is like, yes, I'm a grandmother, or yes, I'm a grandfather, but it wasn't exactly like at this point that I was expecting it to happen.
Yeah, I was 19 when I had my eldest. I was 19 when I had my eldest, so pretty young for a parent.
No, yeah. Oh, I mean, my mom had me when she was 18, so
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
My parents were old.
I don't know. I like getting them out now, and then my youngest is 17, so I get to live my life, right?
Oh, there you go. Well, there you go. I mean, I guess. Oh, I mean, that's not. I mean, that's not. Too. I mean, it's still like a child though, right? 17.
Oh yeah, no, she still needs a parent, and she's learning Wiccan as well. She's learning more of what I know. She's getting the base of paganism and the basics of Wicca, and then I want her to grow into her path instead of I was born into that path. So my mother always, I don't want to say push stuff on us, but taught us that way instead of teaching us other ways. And when we were of a certain age to pick which one we wanted, because we have our Wiccanings, my sister's Lutheran. My sister chose a Lutheran path instead of a Wiccan path. So, but
I mean that's a bit like kind of like out there, right? Like
very much out there because there's a part of my family that is Roman Catholic, and there's so much fun. Yeah.
we can't go to her house for Christmas. No.
Oh my Lord. They wouldn't even come to my daughter's Wiccaning because they thought it was evil. And I'm like, what do you think they did back in the day when there was no churches and you were getting your child blessed?
Yeah, and how much of anything in any religion that you look at, like is could be labeled as a witchcraft or something that's witchy or ritualistic and all. I mean, like baptism. Yeah.
Yeah.
A little symbolic there, ritual. It's always interesting to me.
Oh yes.
Well, I think a lot of the things that they do in church are very ritualistic in nature. I just think that they refuse to accept it. They don't like to use the word ritual. They like to use the word prayer, and it's like, well, what's the difference, man? Like
prayer, chant, a healing circle. There is no difference. The Wiccaning is the same thing as a baptism. It's just instead of a church, we're under the god and goddess. We are out in the open. We were born naked, and before we're not born in clothes. Back then you weren't even born in hospitals. You were born in barns. Jesus supposedly was born in Israel in the middle of winter?
Yeah, Jerusalem. Jerusalem, I think. Yeah.
Jerusalem in the middle of winter. I don't really remember much of my Catholic research. I just let that stuff fall out.
I sadly kind of keep it on the forefront because like I always look at it as know thine enemy.
Of course. I find it funny that Judaism believes in the same Jesus as the Catholics believe in, right? But the Catholics, they like to think that they're like the Almighty and
well, I mean, the distinct difference between the Jews and the Catholics is the Catholics believe that Jesus was the Son of God, and the Jews don't. Like they don't deny that he existed or anything, or that he was a prophet, but they deny the idea that he was the Son of God.
Exactly.
And the funny thing is like despite Christianity and Catholicism having a chokehold on the major religious sectors of the world, Jesus himself was a Jew. Which is kind of like the funny thing, right? It's like, we're Christians and we're Catholics. It's like, well, wait, no.
Well, I believe Jesus was a man. I believe he was there. I believe he was something that someone that did speak and was a healer. I completely believe that. I believe that we're all healers, but it gets driven out of us because of society, and we become more civilized, right? Instead of going to
Mhm.
witch doctors, we now go to doctors. And I still go to a witch doctor, but and a doctor. So I use
Well, I
both.
think the saddest thing about society is like it's something I've actually been kind of slightly struggling with a little bit. Is that
Mm,
as you get older and responsibilities kind of set in, that sense of awe that we used to have when we first started learning about this stuff,
yeah,
starts to kind of dwindle away and replaced by, the mundane and
of course.
monetary, you know, and because that's your
Yeah,
focus in life, right? Like you don't have
It's
time.
human
You feel like you don't
behavior.
have time for anything, right? So you're sitting there like all you're
no,
doing is focusing on work and money.
yeah.
And one thing I've been kind of struggling with myself is kind of like that aspect of things is kind of like trying to rekindle that awe that I once had, kind of like,
Yeah.
dealing with
But
these things.
when we're kids, everything is magical, right? We believe in well, it depends on how you were raised. Some of you believe in Santa. I did not celebrate Christmas. I was the odd child out, especially all my friends opening up Santa presents. I didn't do that. But as a kid, everything is magical to you. You see God and Goddess everywhere. You feel the magic, and as you get older and life becomes more real and it's no longer magical. It is magical, but and not in that childlike sense. And then, you can't, you find the discrimination, well, prejudice, maybe. I'm not sure what you want to call it, but as you get older, you start realizing that people who find out that what you are, they treat you differently. And then it removes some of that, that childlike magic that you had. And then you get a job and you get older. I mean, I've always had time to talk to the god and goddess. And I even have my short rituals that I do every morning when I make my coffee, right? So I may not
Mm-hmm.
get every single ritual in or holiday in as I'd like. Because yes, we are busy, we are working and family and all that jazz that we got going
Mm-hmm.
on. But I still always have a morning ritual with my deities every morning, short, sweet. We have our coffee and we chit chat, and I do my energy and I go on with my day.
That's a good way to kind of like incorporate it in there. Since it's always been an understanding that these types of things, it's not just a religion, but it's a lifestyle, right? I mean, you
Yeah,
live with your
a lo-
deities.
I do. A lot of people think that you have to have an altar, you have to have a special spot to talk to your deities. You have to have a special spot, yeah, when you're starting to do ritual work. But the best thing about being able to speak to your deities at any time, you can be anywhere. You can be in your car on your way to work and you have your conversation, you have your whatever you like to do to your with your deities and with your guides. I talk to my guides, my angels, my deities on a regular basis. I'll be riding my motorcycle and I just if I get a little anxious or something, I call upon Archangel Michael to wrap his heavenly wings around me and as I go, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you're not stuck to have to mourn or do your prayer in like a church. You can talk to your god and goddess or whatever your deity at any time that you really like. And like I said, in the morning, I have my coffee after I get ready for my day. So I sit
Mm-hmm.
down and I light an incense, I light a candle, and I quickly energy shield myself and I have my coffee with my I sit and we talk, we chit chat, I maybe do a couple of card pulls and I thank them for being there. I give a little libation. Doesn't take me long, especially if I'm short for time, especially when it comes to the younger spawn being brought to school or
Mm-hmm.
whatever she has to do, right? So
Yep.
there's always time. Just have to figure out how to make that time. I used to do it when I was working 44 hours a week. I used to do it in my car on the way to work.
Mm-hmm. No, I
But a
mean
lot of
it.
people have that falsity that you have to have an altar. You have to have all this stuff to talk to your god and goddess and your deities, and you don't.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing about it. Open, they're everywhere.
I definitely like hearing like about like what it is that kind of like you do and how you do it. Like it reminds me a lot of myself, especially like when I was I'd definitely say like when I was younger, like probably like in my 20s, like is more kind of like, granted I'm in my early mid 30s right now, so it's like kind of like, not that long ago. Though it feels like half a fucking century ago, but it's
Right.
very white light, right? Very white light. 'Cause you're mentioning a lot about like kind of angels and archangels and working with angels and things like that, and it reminds me, and I don't want to spend too much time on this topic because I dedicated an entire episode of this podcast to it, not too long ago, but. There was a particular YouTube creator that I kind of got on. I briefly kind of talked with you about it.
God, I know where this is going.
And just the way that she was kind of talking about things, like I've mentioned, it's just fear mongering. It's what it was. It was just like creating fear, and using the God element and the angels and things like that in such a way that is like ridiculously reminiscent of Catholicism or Christianity. Now, I've always known that witches work with angels. I have never denied that. But that was the first time I ever heard somebody that considered themselves a witch, talking about this woman, using them in such a way, the same way the church would use it. They say, oh, you need to be careful with this. Don't do that because that's going to be evil and that's going to fuck your shit up. And it's like, wait, what? Like I forced Mystic to sit through, I think, an easy 30 minutes of one of her videos. Like, this dude looked like he was about ready to shoot himself in the head.
My God, yeah.
Well, the thing was, is she outright, like, she without mentioning my name, she outright attacked me in one of her videos.
She sure did.
That's how under her skin I got. She outright attacked me. What's that?
Truth hurts. If you speak the truth, it hurts when you're not ready for that truth, and I don't think she was ready for the truth.
Yeah, she was pissed. And I don't like continuing to talk about it because it's like trying to relive the past. It's like, when you get older, it's the farther back you have to go for glory. It's like when you're 80 years old, it's like, do you remember when I was a sperm?
Yeah.
Oh dear.
So
Mystic, let's burn some more essence. Let's get this shit out.
Yeah, I need something more cleansing than this almond.
Black tourmaline.
Oh wait, I actually have a couple pieces of that somewhere.
I wear malachite on my arm. I have black tourmaline everywhere. I got a big chunk sitting right there, pointed directly at me.
I've got my chunk of silicone to bounce things off of.
There you go.
Silicone?
Shut up! It's silicone. Leave me alone. Different kind of silicone.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think that like to kind of peel back on that. I think the interesting thing for me out of that whole video and that conversation and that whole part of the process with her was the idea that you can put that out there and get so many people to immediately believe it is what scares me. Not even the video.
My friend.
It's true, and they exist, but when you see that many in one place, it's kind of like, I hope like the hole doesn't open up because y'all are all gone at the same time.
Exactly.
Like, that's. I'm sorry.
Well, Twitter's the same way. Twitter is the same way. There's echo chambers. I like to go bah at a lot of the people because they're fucking cheap. Free thought process is not a thing anymore. Free thinking and thinking for yourself, that shit's gone out the window with tube TVs. Like, there's nobody. It's very, very, very rare to find people who think for themselves instead of listening to somebody preach to them. I mean, look, you had preachers that what is it? Baker? I don't know if you know the Bakers.
I'm from Virginia.
Okay, so those guys, they blinded a whole bunch of people.
Uh-huh.
So if they can do that, can you imagine now with the internet and having all sorts of access to how many people are just willing to believe somebody without asking questions? Free thought process is very rare. Very rare.
The biggest problem, I think, is that people do not. Like, how do you not see it? It gets me, but. All of the people that are the sheeping, and I will admit, I sheep on some things. I'm not going to lie. I get caught up in things. Once in a while it happens. We're human. But When you look at it, they really think that they are being all thought frame. Like you do realize what's going on here, right? They don't even recognize that they're not thinking for themselves. Like you get these false arguments. And I'm just going to use it for lack of a better term. Like I'm seeing now, I got in a huge argument with somebody. Well, I didn't actually because I didn't continue it, but there was a huge argument going on about the term, baby witches, new witches, TikTok witches, this witch, that. I'm like,
who fucking cares?
Who cares? It doesn't matter. And they were fighting so hard, and I made one comment. And let me tell you, if I'd have been there in person, I probably would have been murdered. Like they were that angry about it. I'm like, you guys need to find something else to do. If you go out and look at the moon for 10 minutes and you can't figure it out, then you're doing it wrong.
Attacking each other either. Like you shouldn't be attacking another witch. Having a conversation. I understand emotions. We are human. We get passionate about things. But come on, baby witch. If someone's new to the craft, they are a baby.
Well, all I said just before all I said was, somebody said I'm a baby witch. Can I get help? And I said, hey, feel free to message me. I'd be more than happy to talk. I've been a witch for 25 years. I've done some things. Let's talk. You may not want my style, but I'll tell you what I know. And somebody said, how dare you call yourself a baby witch? Well, and I said, well, what's wrong with babies? Why do y'all hate babies so much? Babies are awesome. And then it just went downhill from there. But anyway.
So here's the thing. So mystics know what I'm talking about. Ra, you look like you've been in the goth scene for a bit, right? I mean, you definitely have that.
Oh yeah, I was goth metal.
Yeah.
I had the big hair, blonde, black makeup, ripped jeans, Janko jeans at one point. I'm wearing a pair of Janko shorts right now.
Oh, here we go.
With the Janko shorts. And I got 3 pairs of Jankos. I love my Jankos. Anyway, so the thing is, the reason I bring that up is I don't know if they did that in Canada, but I definitely know in upstate New York and the U.S. It was a term that was very widely used when you were new to the goth scene. What did they call us? Do you remember?
I love it. It was so cute. I didn't know it back then, though.
What did they call you guys?
Baby bats.
Baby. Oh, yes, and I've heard that in emo, baby bat.
It.
Yeah.
Now emo came out as I was already an adult, so I didn't get into that. But yeah, baby bats. Yes, but there's nothing wrong with being called a baby. You're new, right? There's nothing wrong with that. And who gives a fuck if someone wants to call themselves a baby bat? Someone wants to call themselves baby bitch. Who are you to say
bitchy bat
that they can't use the word baby? Like if that's how they identify, who are you to say any different? Right?
Exactly.
That entire conversation is what it's one example of so many things. It just the arguments are never ending within the witch community and every community. But
I agree because I'm on Witch Talk. And I see the gang mentality, but I do notice it's a lot of the younger ones that attack people for baby witches. I'm friends with many witches around the world, and the majority of us are a lot older, and they have no problem with the term baby witch. But I have noticed a younger generation of witches that one don't quite understand what the word respect means. And they always get upset about the stupidest things like baby witch. Like there's so many other things out there, and you shouldn't be attacking a fellow witch. In my eyes, unless that witch is doing some harm towards you, you shouldn't be attacking one another. We should be talking to one another because what Mystic may practice may be totally different than I practice, but we can learn from each other. I've been raised into this, so who knows what Mystic knows compared to what I know, and you should all be getting along. Who gives a shit if it's Wiccan, paganism, whatever,
I think
right?
with
Not a baby witch.
I think inevitably, like it's sad to see because one of the things that was always attractive about Wicca and paganism, I guess we could say when we were younger, because we're all about the same age, was the fact that you could choose your own path. You could choose the deities that you wanted to worship and work with. You could,
freedom of it.
The complete freedom of it. And then sadly,
as long as you don't get off the threefold law, no.
Right. But the inevitability of it is that, when something like this is created and it has that vacuum space where, there is no leadership, right? It's not built in that manner. There's always somebody trying to fill that role. And the problem is you have so many different sects and, subgenres and stuff like that of everybody trying to grab like supreme power, in the area, that everybody becomes a gatekeeper and it just ruins the whole thing.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of people that don't realize you can be pagan and not be a witch. You can be Wiccan and not be a witch. You don't have to practice spellcraft to be a part of either religion. And not every witch follows a path of Wicca or paganism. Not every witch believes in the threefold law. That's a Wiccan tradition. The threefold is a Wiccan thing, not a paganism thing. And a lot of people don't realize that. They're, oh, 3 times, threefold. Only if you believe in that. It's really what you believe in. And the best thing about having a religion like this is that you are free to experiment. They don't hold you to one thing. You can't just go off of, oh, we follow the Greek pantheon. I was Egyptian pantheon. I'm still Egyptian pantheon because that is what pulled to me. My mother is Greek. She follows the Greek pantheon. Obviously, my sister doesn't do any of it, but that's the beauty of it. And not every witch, like I said, follows those rules. Just because someone calls themselves a witch doesn't mean they believe in the threefold law. Not everybody does. I was raised on the Wiccan read. And if you are Wiccan, you know the read. That read is only in Wicca. That read does not extend to paganism. Paganism has their own thing, just like the 10 Commandments in Christianity, right? So it goes off of what you believe, and nobody should be telling you what you should believe in or not. If you believe in a threefold, go for it. If you don't believe in it, go for it. That's the beauty of this. You don't have to worry about it. And I know back in the day, my mom was a part of a coven, and solitary practitioners were never highly looked up as. You got to belong in a coven. You got to have a coven. You have to have a hierarchy. You have to have a high priestess, blah, 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 right?
Yep.
I am not a people person. Even though it may look like I am online, I'm really not. I'm a loner. I like being alone. I practice alone. I'll bring someone in if I need extra energy and extra power. But I like being on my own. And I remember being talked down to because I was a solitary practitioner and I didn't belong to a coven. So
well, I think the coven thing. I think the coven thing, I mean, for me, like growing up, the coven thing didn't really kick off until everybody started watching The Craft for the first time. And then they're like, you need 4 people. You need 4 people.
No, it's 13. How dare you?
13, exactly. You have to have 13 people. No more.
Light as a feather, stiff as a board. Light as a feather, stiff as a board. Sorry.
I did that as a kid quite a lot with my friends.
See, I was more of a Bloody Mary in the bathroom with the lights out. Ooh.
Oh yes, we've done Bloody Mary. We've done Light as a Feather, Stiff as a Board. When The Craft came out, I was rolling because a lot of people thought Minot was real.
Oh my God!
Minot's made up. Minot is made up. Okay, but we do have deities that are like that, though. You do have deities, and you have different hierarchy of deities and energy work and ascended masters and so forth and so on. So you can call on the power of one. But I remember when The Craft came out, I was born into this. So I was like, oh, this is awesome. I was a little angry at some of the stuff that they did. Like I still get angry at some of what movies portray my religion to be.
Well, I'm going to be honest, the original Craft is nothing compared to the absolute nonsense and ridiculousness of the remake.
I seen the remake.
I did not see it.
Funny. I seen the remake. I like The Craft. I wanted to see, because I remember The Craft empowering myself, not only empowering my friends to follow the witchcraft. When I seen The Craft, I was borderline adult. It was 95? It came out 99?
There, like 95, 90, something like that.
Yeah, I was 18, 19 years
late 90s.
old. Yeah. So I'm an adult, but I didn't know many witches because I wasn't part of my mother's coven. So I didn't really know many witches outside of her coven, and I didn't really practice with them. So when I seen the film, I was able to relate to some of the stuff, not all of the shit in that thing, but I was able to relate to it. It was empowering on a certain level, and it was empowering to other females and other witches that became witches because of this film.
It came on
So I had to
96.
see the remake. I had to see the second version, and I it wasn't horrible.
I just cringed. I cringed the whole time. Like
I
I was
was
just
I
like,
couldn't watch
I
it.
agree. There was some cringy stuff, but I think it was. I feel it was targeting this newer generation and the new. I'm going to be.
they turned Mueller. They turned Mueller like a childhood icon from the X-Files. they turned Mueller into a Nazi warlock. I mean, for fuck's sake, man.
He was a woman-hating Nazi warlock. That's exactly what he was. He didn't like women. He wanted to get rid of them, right? Because it's male power.
Darn,
And
I
we
missed
all
it.
know it takes both energies to get where you want to go.
But the whole comment inside of there that men cannot create magic themselves, that only women can do it, and therefore for him to have power, he had to steal it from the witches. And I was like, what?
I know, right? We're all born with this power. Like it's not something that because I'm a female, I have the power. We're born with it. It's whether we utilize it. Everybody is born with power. Everybody is. It's just whether or not you choose to use it, recognize it, and want to learn about it.
I mean, no, I agree, and I mean, there were certain aspects of the film that I there's moments where I was like, okay, this is starting to get a little bit good, and then they flipped it, and they used it for like a virtue signaling moment, like to say, look what we have in our movie, you know, like, and it's like, wait, what? Like, I think there was like one of the characters that was like coming out as gay or trans or something,
or bi,
something like that.
I think he was bisexual. The boy that died, right? The boy that died.
Yeah.
I think he was bisexual because he played with the boy and then he was playing with the girl. So I think he was more curious and trying to figure out his own sexuality, which a lot of us can understand and relate to. But yeah, no, they had that in there as well.
I mean, I don't disagree with having that in there and making that a point, because that's a thing in modern society, right? There's a lot of people right now, you know, like kind of confused about their sexuality or confused about their gender, or different types of things, whatever. And and because the craft, just like you said, even for me as a man, the craft was very influential to me as a human. You know, it's like, dude, like, okay, I'm definitely on the right spot here, because there's just a feeling I got from it. You know, and so I understand what they were trying to do, but try is the operative word here. They tried to have that same effect with this, but what happened is they got so far off of the magic and into like mundane real world problems that it just slowed the progression down to zero. And it's like the craft is supposed to be about the magic, right? Like there wasn't like, even in the original, there wasn't like a lot of character development in the original movie. Like, if you remember, there was character development, but it wasn't like, there wasn't a big story about everybody, right? There's a little bit about their past, a little bit about who they are, but this is the focus. The focus is what they're doing right now, the magic that they're getting into, you know, and that's what pulled you in. The remake or the new one or the second one or whatever the fuck you want to call it, didn't do that. It went so far left field into like the mundane struggles that people have. It's like, okay, are you making a movie that is like supposed to be sending a message about, you know, I don't know, like trans gay rights and things like that? Are you making a movie about magic? Because the thing is, I don't mind you incorporating it and saying this person is this, so we understand who that character is. Right. And maybe incorporating a little bit of their struggle, but literally focusing 20 minutes of the movie on that person's struggle. Now you just completely lost, because it's what you're talking about. It's an hour and 38 minutes. So you completely lost like the point of what the craft is supposed to be. At least me, as I guess you could say, as like a purist to the original craft. And there's that awkward silence.
My elder spawn was messaging me at the same time, so I told her that I was going to be busy.
No, it's all good. It's all good. I mean, Mystic, I mean, I know you haven't seen the second one, but what do you think?
No, I mean that, like I just said, there's really no comment to it. It's first of all, most of the people in the original craft, most of the group was not did not need character development. They did that based on their behavior and their look, and they made it very visually able to figure out what was happening and what was going on. And they
Yep.
played on the mainstream things that most people had heard of, like light as a feather, stiff as a board. Those things that everybody knew. You know,
Mhm.
was it Milton Bradley had the Ouija board, so we've heard of it. You know, so they really used those pieces to help that focus. I loved the movie. I didn't get anything super magic about it when I watched the first one. I just liked the movie.
Yeah.
I'm assuming I'm going to hate the second one because I'm not a big fan of most drama style shows. I want to see a movie that plays out, and I'm going way off tangent here, but I want to see a movie that plays out like the Progressive commercial where they choose to hide behind the wall of saws instead of getting in the running car to leave. Like, I want to see that movie again. That's my favorite movie. Like, seriously. So,
Yeah.
but still, you know, it just, I don't know. The Craft was a really good movie for what it was, for when it was. It was right at the right time. They should have left it alone and made a different movie.
Yep.
You know, Beverly Hills Witch 0210. I don't know.
Something.
You know, something different.
I mean, it's a problem with Hollywood right now, though. It's like the problem with movies, at least in my opinion, from what I've seen in the movie industry, is that the movie industry is just rehashing everything that was popular in the past, trying to bank in on, you know, the people like us. They're trying to bank on us. That's what they're doing.
Well, yeah, they're trying to bank on our childhood. That's why they remake the Transformers and G.I. Joes and She-Ra, He-Man, Ninja Turtles, because they're trying to cash in on us, because now we're adults and we got jobs, we got money. Well, some of us. And we're going to go buy that because it gives us that reminiscing of our youth, right? So they know, oh, we're going to make this and they're going to buy it. And they're right. Majority of us do buy it.
Yeah, whether we like it or not, we're probably going to go spend the money to see it and then hate it, but we still already spent the money.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, I rented the goddamn thing on Amazon, you know, I mean, so they got my money, you know.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I mean, ever since, you know, I started using streaming services, I mean, I don't pirate anything anymore, really. Like, I mean, very rarely will I ever, like, download something for, you know, free, you know, permanently borrowing it. You know, I mean, grant you, I don't know if you guys remember this. Y'all remember LimeWire? I mean, that's, you know, that's a blast from the past, right?
Dude, I literally got a cease and desist from my internet provider from regarding LimeWire once.
Oh, wow.
Really?
It's bad.
And LimeWire taught me about file sizes. If you downloaded a song and it was in kilobytes, that means you're downloading a virus.
Yeah.
Okay, so
fun times.
Right?
Napster.
Right? Wow, that was even before LimeWire. Damn.
Yep.
Napster. I remember that whole thing with Napster when they got in trouble. Oof.
Oh, with Metallica and shit? Yeah.
Metallica?
Yeah.
Hell, I remember watching Dean Schneider from Twisted Sister in court. Fighting the label, the illicit warning label, that was put on now records, cassette tapes and records back then.
I remember cassette tapes.
I remember cassette tapes. Who remembers radio mixes that, like, you waited for your favorite song to come on and you recorded that son of a bitch on your stereo.
Yeah, and you missed half of it.
I had 2 radios. One had a cassette player in it where I would have my recording tape, and the other one played the music. So, pop, pop, boom, and I remember timing them at the same time so you get the songs correctly.
Wow.
We actually had this
tape to tape and then radio to tape.
You did that like 3 or 4 times. Like, you do that like 3 or 4 times, and then like your song just sounds like a crackling mess.
Yep, and then you make your mixtapes for your boyfriends and girlfriends and stuff like that.
Yeah. Wow.
A side and B side.
Yep. popping out the little bottom parts of the cassette tape, so it couldn't be
You can't
recorded
record over.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then
Or
getting
putting-
mad that you did it, so
or-
getting tape to cover it so you could record it again.
Yeah, putting tape on top of it.
Oh,
I remember doing that. I remember doing that
Lord.
with VHS tapes. VHS tapes. Like you wanted to watch a TV show, there was no DVR. Your DVR was timing your your VCR to record, like when your TV show was supposed to be on. And then you always got pissed off, like when there was a big news story and they interrupted your TV show, and like for the next hour it was just like the news. You're like, God damn it.
Right? Yeah.
God, that reminds me of how exciting it was when you could record on a channel different than what you were watching. Like that was amazing when that happened. We had the first VCR with the corded remote. I remember that. That was like in mid 80s.
Yeah, I want to know. It's funny. I love how these conversations go. We started on talking about witchcraft, and now we're talking about VCR tapes.
Look, magic.
Right.
Look, I have. Yeah, you try to take the time to save that moment. You know, that's its own way of magic. You're using electromagnetic fields to put memories on a file, because it's not about the movie. It's about how the movie made you feel.
Yep.
Exactly.
God, I remember being
exactly.
so upset. I used to have a whole bunch of pictures from a trip I went to in Vegas. It was the first time I ever decided to keep it digitally. Lost it all. That was a horrible feeling for the longest time.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Because it's a memory of how you felt. Like you can see a picture and the wave of emotions come over you, especially if it's a picture that was taken at a very special time or a very an important moment for you. Like I go back to my old pictures. I print out all my pictures so I don't, because I've lost digitally pictured on, and I was gutted. But and I go back and I can look at it and you can feel the wave of the emotion that you had at that time, right? So it's more, and you're right, it's more about the feeling than the actual image itself. It's that, when you're reminiscing, you're sitting there, you feel that rush come over you.
I just was remembering a picture I was looking at when I was probably 12 years old, and wondering, how did my parents not know? Like how did they not know? Like, anyway.
Love is blind.
Oh, so funny.
I think that kind of brings up a good point, though, like talking about kind of like the emotion from an image or something like that. I think it kind of is a comment on the importance of visualization when it comes to magic, when it comes to working rituals, when it comes to spell casting. Visualization is extremely important. So one thing I want to talk about, and I want to talk about the magic side of it a little bit, the actual occurrence, but also like the magic side of it. So Ra had a little run-in, or a continual run-in, with cancel culture recently. I told you it was going to happen, Ra.
Oh yeah, I have no problem talking about it.
So how about you tell the story? Straight from the horse's mouth.
Well, I'll give you the short version of it. Back in January, somebody got upset about something and started a little hate group on me because of something that was said in my stream by somebody else in my chat. Okay. And so this person ran to another person and started a huge hate fest or whatever it was, right? They took a 5-hour VOD of mine and cut it into a minute and 32 seconds. And it was so horribly edited that you can definitely tell that it was an edited thing. Like 1 minute I'm talking about something, and the next minute, like literally a second, I'm doing something else. Like my body was doing something else. And the person edited it to explicit points. So it sounded like I was saying bad things. So the way they edited, and they didn't bother looking at body movement when they edited the video, right? They heard this word, they edited that, they cut it there, and they waited to hear another word. They edited it and added it there, and then made, like I said, it was a 5-hour VOD into a minute and 32 seconds, and then posted it all over Twitter and tagged me, but blocked me. So I didn't get to see it, right? And started this whole hate brigade against me and tried to cancel me over something that was a really waste of their time, because they wasted their time. It actually helped me in that sense. It actually boosted a lot of my stuff. And I made new friends where they didn't know me before. And then they got to know me. people who sort of kind of knew me, seen it, and then contacted me. And I had many conversations, and they were just like blown away because of what was actually said compared to what was edited. And this person to this day still tries to make my life hell. But the thing is if you put this much energy into hating somebody else, could you imagine what kind of person you would be if you took that energy and worked on your own self? Because you got problems when you sit there and you watch people's VODs for 5 friggin' hours. You have issues.
Yeah, definitely.
Issues, right?
Mhm.
I can't imagine.
Oh, it was it was a little bit stressful at the time, but again, I'm not a child. I don't bring myself down. I didn't make it public. She made it public. I didn't make it public. I was like, whatever. This is the kind of time that she has on her hands. I feel sorry for her. And I honestly did. I felt sorry for her and her little hate brigade, that you guys are so pathetic and have such shitty lives that you're literally willing to try to hurt somebody else out of what? Because somebody said something to you. And so you got your little panties in a bunch to attack somebody else, waste all that energy and time on somebody. Seriously, life is too short to try to be, trying to be some kind of savior of what God knows fucking what. But like I said, it was a win for me because I met so many new people. It opened up opportunities. That was back in January. It was a rough month trying to get the DMCA and lawyers involved because I am suing, but I can't really go too much into the case because internet libel and slander is an actual thing. It's called cyber slander and libel, and that is being done as we speak. And I had a lawyer do the DMCA process for me to get the video taken down, and it took a little bit, but it was taken down. So I really can't go into too much more about it because there is an actual lawsuit going.
Oh, that's good. I didn't know that you had that going on.
Oh, yes. I was a nice person. I wasn't going to do anything. But when you keep running your mouth, and you keep fucking with that bull is going to friggin' impale you with their horns.
This is
and
true.
This bull is a big old bitch, and she's ready for it.
I mean, it pissed me off so much because, so a few years ago when Mixer was still a thing, so few people remember this, but when the show was on Mixer, when it went by the Ball Show, we were probably the largest web show on Mixer, right? We always had different partners come in, stuff like that. Different team leaders, stuff like that. We always used to talk about touchy subjects. We'd have 7-8 people in video at the same time. And we talked at that particular point in time, school shootings was a big thing. There's a lot of school shootings happening.
In the U.S., yeah.
Yeah. And, we would spend, I remember there was a good month that we spent, talking about school shootings. And we're talking about 2 shows a week. So, it's a lot.
Yeah.
And then I remember somebody, not going to mention names because it's just not worth it. But somebody that I considered a friend, a very good friend, somebody that, I sat talking to this guy, probably like 3-4 hours straight, on several different occasions, just bullshitting and talking, and decided to take to Twitter and start pushing out saying that we were in support of school shootings, in reference to, comments that a couple of the, panel members made, and myself, that I mentioned, I was bullied in school. I had access to weapons, never crossed my mind to go grab a weapon and shoot my school up because people were bullying me. Never occurred to me, and we were trying to kind of talk about the psychology of why something like that would happen. And, a few of us made the comments like, depending on who you are and your psychological and mental stability, certain levels of bullying, we could understand, not condone, but understand why it would push somebody to that breaking point. And they tried to flip that around and say, oh, they're supporting school shootings. You need to trying to get Mixer to ban us, trying to get Twitter to ban us. Now, I was lucky because the attacks were directly at me because I was the host of the show. They were directly at me. So I was lucky at that particular point in time. The Ball community, everybody on Mixer knew who Ball was. Like if myself or the people that were involved in Ball popped into your stream, people knew who we were. They're like, oh, you guys run Ball, shit like that. They knew what the team was. They knew it. And so we had so many people at that time. I think we were somewhere around like 600 members, just general members. Everybody, like a swarm of goddamn locusts, hit fucking Twitter. It's like, you guys are full of shit. You know what the fuck you're talking about. You never even saw the goddamn show. Go watch the show. Go watch the VODs. Go watch the YouTube. And people were throwing up clips of like what was actually said and shit. And like, I was lucky that my brush with cancel culture was short-lived and like lasted no more than 3 days.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Mine did not. Mine lasted a bit more. And with this person actually stating that they were honest on their stream and stated numerous times that they were jealous of me. So I thought it was kind of funny that, that you would be willing to do something like that. But see, Twitter is a cesspool. It really is a cesspool of echo chambers.
It is.
And it's disgusting. I don't have streamer Twitter. It's something that I have muted and deleted a long time ago. So I don't really get to see all the drama and the dramatics of, whatever the hot topic is or who they're trying to cancel it today.
Mm-hmm.
What aggravates me about cancel culture is the fact that half the time, the people that they're trying to cancel did nothing wrong. Your feelings were hurt. Wah. You know what I mean? Your feelings were hurt. Grow the fuck up. That is the majority of cancel culture. It's, not that anything actually happened. My feelings were hurt. So now everybody's got to know my feelings were hurt and you were wrong because you had an opinion or whatever it may be. And I'm just taking stuff from other people that I know that have been canceled or tried to be canceled before. And it was because people got their feelings hurt. Instead of listening to facts and what was actually happening, you didn't like what that person said. It went against the narrative. Oh my God, you got to cancel now. You got to cancel, got to cancel you. And it aggravates me because that's someone's livelihood that you're going after. Somebody who didn't do anything wrong only because you were upset. That's someone's livelihood. And they're we're holding them accountable. Accountability
Narcissism
is totally different than canceling you at all. Accountability, if somebody was running around and actually doing those things that you were saying, okay, accountability. But if somebody was doing something and you didn't like it, that's not accountability.
Exactly. It's just like, so what Mystic just said, narcissism. You're so narcissistic that, you think that your feelings are the most important, and that, I honestly, so my biggest issue with cancel culture
started. It started.
I've always been of the mindset that I think that people joining forces to really go against something that's really, really bad is not a horrible thing. Like, so I'm not 100% against like the whole concept of social justice, because sometimes, let's face it, doesn't matter where you live. Sometimes the legal system fails, right?
If they did something wrong, if they actually did something wrong, then sure.
Exactly.
But if your feelings are hurt because I didn't like what somebody said in your chat, and now my feelings are, I gotta go cry and start a hate mob to cancel you.
That's the problem we're running into. That's the problem we're running into. What we're running into is we're running into a bunch of people that, generally speaking, have had absolutely no power over anything at all in their lives. including themselves, that are realizing that if they bitch and moan and throw a large enough temper tantrum over something, because for me, that's what fucking cancel culture, it's a goddamn temper tantrum. It's my 6-year-old getting pissed off because I won't give him a donut for breakfast. Okay, that's what they're doing, right? Because what does my 6-year-old do? Like, what does he do? Like when I don't want to give him sweets for breakfast, he's like, I hate my life. My life sucks. He's 6, right?
I don't want this. Yeah,
exactly. You know, and so but the problem is what they're
Here's
realizing
a backpack
is
with your clothes. Now you don't have a place to live. Now your life sucks.
Right, exactly. My mom did that to me once.
I believe it.
So, you know, the thing was, the one and only time I ever got pissed off at her, I said, I hate you, Mom. She said, oh, you hate me? She literally grabbed a clothes basket, threw some shit in it, said, get the fuck out of my house. And I was like,
yeah.
I never told her I hated her again. But, you know, what happens is they realize that by being vocal, however little few people they are, that brands and major companies respond, right? They respond to it, right? Generally speaking, right? You know, like I'll use an extreme example, right? And I know there's caveats to this, but it's an extreme example for perspective. The whole situation with Marilyn Manson, the allegations against Marilyn Manson for sexual abuse and rape and things like that. Before a record label or a company would, one, try to support their artist, or at least two, sit there and say these are these are unfounded allegations, right? There's no proof to these allegations as of yet. At the date and time that there is proof to prove these allegations, we will take appropriate actions with the artist that is signed to us, right? No. Now what do? Because there's a vocal majority behind it, because it's like this person comes out and says, he raped me, he did this. Everybody fucking drops him. Everybody. Yep. Like everybody on God's green earth that says, bye, dude. Like we're talking about an icon. He could be
innocent for all we know.
Yeah,
I'm not
exactly.
saying he is. I don't
I'm
know
not saying he is either. I don't know.
I'm not in there. I'm not the judge.
The only people that know the truth is Marilyn Manson and the woman in question, right?
Only
I can't
the
remember her
parties
name.
involved know what actually happened.
Exactly.
It's like that whole thing with that. I think she was a reporter. I don't remember what she is, but basically 10 years ago, she said something in her, I think she was early, like 18, 19. She was maybe 20. And now she's an adult. Like she's grown from that in 10 years. Mm-hmm. The funny thing is that they're trying to get her fired for something she said 10 years ago. She was a totally different person 10 years ago. She was 20 years old. Like she's in her 30s now. So they tried to get her canceled, and it's like, you've never made a mistake. You've never made a mistake in your entire life. That you're so perfect. That her mess up, which it was. She messed up. She was young, but who didn't do something or say something stupid when they were younger? But if you grow from that, so if you took that lesson at 20 and said, oh, you know what, I did say that, and grow and learn from that. Why are you being penalized from something that you obviously grown from and you've learned from? So why are you penalizing someone from 10 years ago? They were a completely different person then.
Look, the scary part about it is, okay, so going to another example, Johnny Depp, right? So when Johnny Depp's wife came out and said he did this, he abused me, he did this, and he proved his innocence. But you know, the cancel culture brigade came in and said, fuck Johnny Depp, we're gonna cancel Johnny Depp. That poor motherfucker still has not recovered from that shit.
No, and he's not going to. And he was the victim. She was the aggressor, Amber. I believe that karma will happen, but the fact of the matter is that, we're not supposed to victim blame, and we're not supposed to do this, and we're not supposed to do that. But look what they did to Johnny Depp, and he was the victim.
And nobody apologized. Nobody came out and said, "Hey, we fucked up." No. And the thing is when he was, before all that shit went down, he was the highest paid actor in Hollywood. If you wanted Johnny Depp on a movie, you had to pay a fucking premium. Now the thing is like, if you look at the few roles that he's actually being offered are actually shit movies.
Yep. But that's cancel culture for you. It's the hive mind, hive mentality. One person says it's got to be right, especially in this world of content creation. if someone has a high amount of followers, we got to believe them. They've got to know the truth. They have
and here
12,000 followers on Twitter, so
uh-huh.
we have to believe what they're saying.
And here's the horrible thing: just by us talking about this, people are going to sit there and look at it and say, "Oh, look, they're supporting rape and they're supporting,
I'm sure
sexual abuse."
another witch hunt will be done.
And it's like, well, it's like,
exactly
wait a minute,
what happened the first time. It was a witch hunt.
It's just like, wait a minute, dude. It's like, it's merely talking about there's always two sides to a story, and it's not always what you think it is.
There's three sides to the story. There's his side, her side, and then the friggin' truth. And nobody is ever going to know the truth. It's between them. I wasn't there. I'm not part of the jury. Nobody was privy to that except for the two people involved. Plain and simple. Like,
exactly.
And if you're going to cancel somebody over that, then so be it, but you're part of the problem. You're not helping out. And what happens? Let's just say what happens. He is found innocent. Let's just throw that out there. Then what? You've already caused the damage.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is he was just starting to get into this over Marilyn Manson in his case. He was supposed to do like a whole season's worth of recording for New Gods on Amazon, which is a show that I actually like. He only made they recorded the first episode with him. They're removing him from everything else. His record label dropped him immediately,
what happened to proven innocent, innocent until proven guilty?
Exactly. And it's just like, I mean, I'm of the mindset that if he is guilty and he did the things that they're saying that he did, these multiple people, then you know what? Sorry, dude.
Throw the book at him.
You need to lock your fucking ass up because you're a menace to fucking society.
Cancel the shit out of him then. But we don't know. You don't know anything. You weren't there. Right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
You weren't there.
So I still listen to his music. I still play. I'm capable of separating the art from the artist. I appreciate his art. I will always appreciate his art as, a 90s goth. The thing is that's what got me into the scene was Marilyn Manson. Marilyn Manson got me into the scene. Like, Marilyn Manson helped me feel comfortable being me when I didn't know what me was. And I can't ignore that. I can't let that go. That's a big thing, like, I mean, who I am today is, for as pathetic as it may sound to some people, who I am today was directly influenced by him as a, person, as an artist, the idea of, be who you want to be and who you feel comfortable being, and fuck everybody else. Always go for what makes you feel whole as an individual. Now, the next part I want to get into about the cancel culture thing, is so we have somebody in our community that does sour jars, right? Against people that that are intending harm on them. I want to know what was your what actions did you feel comfortable taking to defend yourself magically?
Magically, I called on my guides. I asked my guides, point me in the right direction. What do I do? I protected myself on an energy level. I binded. I also sent back that energy, and it hit them all. Which is the best part. I sent it right back to them. Whatever you put out, I send back. I've been doing this since I was able to friggin' walk. My mother has taught us spell casting. She's taught us how to protect ourselves. I like to say that I'm a pretty powerful witch when it comes down to it. Hello. Pretty powerful witch when it comes down to it. I also know a lot of older spells that were before all of what we have now that have a lot to do with mirrors and stuff that was given down to me from my own family.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's exactly what I did. I sent all the energy that they were attacking me with right back at each and every single one of them. I utilized each and every single one of their names, and I used my mirror. I did my thing, and I did it on a full moon. I followed what my guide stated to me. I released. So I did a whole releasing ritual on top of that. And I added, not only did I add my witchy stuff to it, but I also brought in my Wicca, not my Reiki, involved with it as well. Because I want to send it back to them so they learn a lesson and then heal from that lesson. I didn't send it back to them to cause them harm. I sent it back to them so they can see what they've done to somebody else, feel that anguish, feel that pain, and maybe better themselves as a person down the road. I did send it back in love and light. I didn't send it back in any other way. When I actually did it, and I wrote everybody's name down that was in that retweet, that retweeted it, that commented on it, and it was a long spell and ritual, but I sent it back and I sent it to them in love and light. May you feel what you have done, and may it hurt, but may it also teach you a lesson, love and light. I don't wish harm on anybody. I don't care what you've done to me. I don't wish harm. I forgive because forgiveness is not for them. The forgiveness is for me.
Yeah.
If I let it sit and fester, I'm only going to become a bitter, angry person, and then I'll turn into one of them, right? I'll spend hours doing the internet and worrying what they're saying about me. I honestly don't give two flying fucks what they say about me. I'm not putting that energy into it. So I don't want to be that type of person. So I forgive. I move on. I move on with my life. I better myself, and I rise above it. And that angers people more when you rise above it than you become on their same level or lower than them. Do I agree with, sending something back to somebody negatively? To each their own. I am nobody to say you're wrong for doing that. You shouldn't be doing that. If that's the way you live your life, then that's the way you live your life. I prefer to, send it with love and light, because I would rather them learn from their mistakes than redo their mistakes again.
Yeah, I get that.
Some people don't see it that way, and they feel better doing a sour jar or a revenge jar, because there's all sorts of shit that you can do out there, right? I also did a binding. I did a binding, I did a releasing, and I did a send back.
See, I think so. I generally, for the most part, what I've noticed with my YouTube starting up and comments that I've been getting, is I guess I confuse the shit out of people, because as far as paganism is concerned, I'm more towards the Norse pantheon. So I consider myself a Norse pagan. Odin, Thor. Those. But philosophically, I very openly call myself a philosophical Satanist. So, and that's Levian Satanism, not the Satanic Temple or Luciferianism, which is the worship of actual demons and things like that. And the reason I say that is I'm not going to read from it, but the Satanic Bible, just like the Holy Bible, the New Testament, the Old Testament, I think as a book of philosophy, like reading Friedrich Nietzsche's The Antichrist or Ecce Homo or anything like that, has a lot of valid things in it that make a lot of sense to live your life by. And so I consider myself very deeply, philosophically, I'm a philosophical Satanist. I mean, I've got, the sigil of Baphomet here. I've got the sigil of Baphomet right there. I've got it on my computer. Right? Baphomet. I mean, it's a horn god, right? It's technically Pan, but
I utilize whatever deities want to work with me. I welcome all. I don't care where they come from, as long as I feel safe, right? I have worked with energies that made me feel a little so then I don't work with them, right? So, and Baphomet, people tend to believe Baphomet is evil and this, that, and it's like, have you learned anything? There is
Thank
Google.
you.
I mean, even Wikipedia would give you a good backdrop.
Exactly.
Well, I had to go as far as making I think I discussed this with you. I think it was yesterday. I had to go as far as making a video about demons. Like what a demon is, and the definition of the word demon and where demon comes from, right?
I know who you shouldn't ask.
Last Frontier Medium. Don't ask her, because apparently she's an astral exorcist, right? And demons are afraid of her because she's a demonologist. And it's like, wait, calling yourself a demonologist only means
a lot of Supernatural, because I swear to God,
it sounds
Supernatural fucking demons, man.
Which is a great show, by the way.
Well,
It is a good show, you know.
Uh-huh.
But
it is. I watch it. I love
Not very accurate, but it's a great
Supernatural.
show.
Some of their
you know,
stuff is good, but then the others I'm laughing at it. But yeah, demons. Oh God! Again, it's what you make of it. What you utilizing them for. You've got your mischief demons. You got your mischief angels. You got. Ugh, I don't know. I
yeah.
believe in things
Oh,
differently.
it's intention. Everything is
Yeah.
it falls on intention. What is your intention? Right? I mean, do I think that there are potentially like malevolent spirits out there? Yeah, of course.
Fuck yeah, there is. Yeah.
You know, but the thing is like, you know, first and foremost, possession is very rare. First of all.
Yeah.
Second of all, an actual possession, like where the Christian idea of a possession comes from the Greek pantheon. And, you know, how young, there are special people that when they were born, they were gifted by Zeus, a daemon, which is a guiding and helpful spirit, which was a previous human being to help this person through their life. And this spirit lived inside of them, right, from the day that they were born, helping, guiding them through their lives. These were supposedly the most successful people in the world, which is why the most successful people are like 1%ers, because they have that daemon there inside of them, guiding their decisions and their choices and looking at things from different perspectives that other people just, quite frankly, can't see. And the Christians took that and said, oh, demons can possess you. Okay, so let's make it ugly, grotesque, and terrifying.
Yeah.
It's just I don't know.
But that's
like,
where you get into the Christianity, heaven and hell, right?
Yeah.
I don't believe there's a hell. I believe we create our own hell and we relive it. I believe in reincarnation and we come back until we learn that lesson.
I
If you
agree.
haven't learned that lesson in the 5 million times that you came back, well, you're gonna come back and relive it. I believe the hells that we deal with are something from our past, whether we do have very new souls where they've never been on this planet before, on this, I should say, on this realm, where they've never been on this realm before. And then we have those that are old souls that have come back numerous times and they're here to still learn, or maybe they're here to teach what they have learned to somebody else, right?
No, exactly. And I think, I mean, I believe in reincarnation. I believe that we die and we come back and things like that. You know, until we learned a lesson that we need to learn. I mean, and I think the thing is, we start the pain in the ass thing is, you know, it's like, you know, needing to redo a math test in high school, but the teacher gives you material that is completely different from the shit that you studied because you fucked up on the first test, you know. Because that's just how it is. Like, you come back and you remember fragments. This is why I've always come down to say, okay, we're all connected to like kind of like a source. I use the term source because it's like the only thing I could think of, you know, that makes sense.
Universal energy.
Yeah.
Universal energy and First Nations say the creator, right?
You know, so we're all connected to that.
Aldrin.
Like the trees, the birds, every human being, we're all connected. And what happens is I look at the soul as a battery, right? The soul, like, you know, your memories and who you are as a person right now is very stuck in the physical aspect of things. It's very determinant of your brain and the things that you've learned and your understanding of things, you know, now. When the body dies, the brain ceases to function and those memories are let go. There are certain things, certain fragments that may be very powerful that stick with you. Like, let's say from like maybe medieval times, a war or a battle that you might have been in that was very dramatic, that sliver of memory was imprinted onto the battery. And every time that battery goes through, that can sometimes come through as kind of like an idea of like, okay, this is who I might have been in another life. But what happens is so the soul is pure energy. We know that, you know, the body runs off of energy because the electrical signals that pop off in the brain, right, through the synapses and the connections, the neural connections that we create in the brain. And we know that energy doesn't disappear or dissipate. It changes form and moves forward. The same thing with matter, right? once matter is created, that matter can no longer fully be destroyed. It can be reformed and then rejoined back into a larger mass, but it never actually disappears. That matter is still there. So you as a physical form is always here, ingrained in the earth. You as a spiritual form are also always here, because energy itself doesn't dissipate either. Now, what happens is when a new soul or a new body is born, it requires a soul. And I feel that in order to begin to develop as a person, as an individual, right, it requires the soul to power everything that, you know, kind of goes forward. My first clear memory as a child was being 6 years old. It was 1992. I was sitting at a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles play table with a fake pizza in the middle, pizza sticker, right, playing with my Turtles figures, and going into my body, like looking at the back of my head and going into my body. That was my first memory.
Yeah.
Like that I can clearly, like everything before that, there are like little fragments. And for some reason, those little fragments are always me throwing up hot dogs for some reason.
Interesting.
It's weird shit. Like, right. It's not the most like Mystic's face is like, God damn. But my first clear memory is that going into my body. And then after that, like I can remember everything clearly after that day. And I've never forgotten that because I always thought it was weird. And I honestly think that was that point when my body gained a soul.
Could have, or it could have been that you had the ability to move outside of your body, very similar to astral projection as a child, and not realize it. Because that does happen. There are people who are born with that it comes naturally to them, and that also is a possibility. Maybe, and that's why you don't remember some of the things, and they're coming back as fragments. That's a possibility. You should try to see a regressionist.
That'd be interesting. That would be interesting.
Yep.
I would kind of be afraid of like what would crop up though. Like, to be honest,
Have either of you worked with your shadow self before?
I do specifically shadow work.
Okay, because not a lot of people understand the shadow self. They think we have one side of us, and little do they know that our light side does have a dark side. Not dark like an evil side. I mean, some people do, but it's our shadow self. And sometimes our shadow self, we need to connect with our shadow self to heal whatever has happened to us, especially if you've gone through traumas. But I'm wondering if, working with your shadow self, working with your guides, and maybe having someone point out a regressionist to you. I have had my past life regression done. I've had that done. It's really cool if you get the right people. There's a lot of posers, I want to say, and they just say things, but you'll know a true regressionist when you see them. Like, you can tell.
I mean, that's go ahead, Mystic.
I was just gonna say we have to do a topic on that sometime, because it's the first thing that anybody usually thinks of when they talk about shadow work is, I need to work on all the things that were bad. Yeah, not necessarily what that means, but the oh my God, I just lost my train of thought. Okay, got it. Past life regression, because I've had some really interesting experiences, both with people who have literally been able to take you to the edge of the lake until that, and that's how I picture it when I've done one that actually I can still remember in complete detail. They literally take you to the edge of the lake of the world and you fall off, and that's where you see everything. And some of those experiences have been completely life altering when you go back and look at the shadow self and start realizing it's not necessarily my shadow that I need to be afraid of or just work through. It's literally embracing that part of you that people are afraid of. And it kind of goes back. It goes back to the whole universal energy thing we were talking about a little bit earlier. Is it a demon? Is it a daemon? Is it a angel? Is it a Jesus? Whatever. You know what I mean? Is it a Jesus? No, it's Jesus. I swear. So it really kind of speaks to whatever you call it. It can be whatever you experience it. It's kind, not that it's the same thing, but it's broken down in kind of the same manner. And so when you go into the shadow work and you go into the regression, you really like, I don't, before I knew that I had past lives and I thought I had past lives, I'm like, oh, it's going to be really cool. Think I have these memories. Afterwards, I have the whole memories. Like, it's completely different. It's well, it is creepy, but yeah. Anywho, topic. We do that sometime.
If you've been through a trauma and you can't seem to overcome something in your life, it's usually working with your shadow self that's going to help bring the healing process.
Hello,
a lot
Mother.
of people tend to think that the shadow self half the time they don't even realize about the shadow self, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like they don't even know that there's a shadow self. And a lot of new witches or witches who only have practiced a certain path don't realize that we do have a shadow self. And working with that shadow self is very, very beneficial, especially for the healing process and moving forward. We're always moving up, right? We're always moving forward. And when we do learn what we need to learn and we move on, sometimes those people go to that next hierarchy, right? They don't come back as a soul anymore. They come back as maybe a guide, or that's how you get ascended masters, right?
A daemon, like sent by exactly a guide, like a spirit guide.
There's tons, and we don't know about the afterlife. I can't tell you for sure what goes on there because I have an inkling, but I can't say what this is for sure, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's also what you believe in.
Yeah, I think that's why, like, for me, so for example, like I've kind of always kind of like over the last few years have gradually kind of been moving farther and farther onto like the left-hand path, only because and that term generally makes people nervous. That term generally kind of freaks people out. Like when you start saying, yeah, I'm on the left-hand path. I practice the left-hand path. They automatically think, Satanism, being evil, sacrificing kittens and babies at the altar. And it's like, you're an idiot. Yeah. And it's like, no, it's just like, I understand that, there are certain things that have happened to me in this life that have created a certain amount of malice inside of me. Hence the name Mr. Malice. And instead of trying to bury that, hide it, and put it under a rock somewhere, I embrace it. I embrace kind of like that darker aspect of myself. It started with the goth culture, because that was like kind of like the first opening door to it, right? Vampires and the cool makeup and black clothes and stuff like that. And then as I got older and I started to mature, it started to kind of move into, my magic, my spell work, my ritual work, my tarot readings. When I do tarot, I do shadow readings. I don't focus on, telling you that, yeah, you're going to find the person that you love and have a really big pool and a big house and become really, really famous. No, I don't do that. I'm the one that's like, dude, you're fucking up in this area of your goddamn life and you need to fix it. Like, if you want to progress, you need to stop fucking up here and you need somebody to tell you. And that's what the cards are telling you right now. It's like, dude, wake the fuck up. And people like, there are people that love that. And there are people that are like, dude, like that was a dark reading. And it's like, well, you've got some dark shit going on, that you're not dealing with. And it's like a parasite that's growing inside of you and it's growing around you. And if you don't take care of it now, it's going to consume you. And so that whole side of things, it just feels, I feel very drawn to it. I've always felt drawn to it. And which is one of the reasons why, as far as being a Norse pagan is concerned, in its own right, Norse paganism is a dark version of paganism. It's some dark shit in there.
Yeah. Have you read the Our Thoth?
Yeah.
I own all volumes of it. I know a lot about Norse paganism. My family is Scandinavian.
Oh, there you go. There you go. And it's not evil either. Like, I mean, they believed in telling the truth. They believed in protecting family. They believed in protecting property. They believed in, a lot of righteous and good things, but at the same time, they believed in consequences, owning up to your mistakes, telling the truth.
Yeah. When we don't own up to our mistakes, then we don't learn anything. We don't grow. We don't evolve. We don't move on. Knowledge is power. And if we refuse to see it and we refuse to learn from it, then where the hell are we going to go?
I mean, I remember reading like one rule. Like, I thought it was bullshit because it was in the TV show Vikings from the History Channel. I mean, they extended on it. They kind of like embellished on it a little bit. But like there is a rule in a lot of villages, in the north, that if you killed somebody for some reason, whether it was self-defense or whatever, like you had a personal responsibility to, for the next person you saw, you were to tell them that you killed somebody.
Yeah.
Like they relied on their own honesty as individuals as legality. Like, I mean, imagine how a culture has to be to trust individuals so much that to say that, hey, if you do this, you need to tell somebody, and trust and believe that they're going to tell them.
Yeah.
That's an amazing thing. And if you look at Norse paganism and you look at LaVeyan Satanism and the philosophy of LaVeyan Satanism, they meld together almost perfectly.
Yeah.
As far as personal responsibility is concerned.
Right.
That's where kind of like the conundrum comes in. And like when I tell people what it is, the path that I'm on, being left hand, things like that, I might wear, a Milner, but my primary deity is hell. That's my primary deity. And not to be confused with the Christian hell, everybody. That's a discussion for another day.
Yeah.
But I completely get what you're saying, like about the shadow self, And so what is your idea on the left-hand path? Because we were talking a lot about angels, we're talking a lot about, your light work and things like that. And so coming from somebody that does practice kind of more on the positive or the perceivable positive end of things, what is your opinion about people that are on the left-hand path, practice the left-hand path? Like what is your knowledge of it and your opinion of it?
I don't have a lot of knowledge of it, but not everything that we perceive as bad is actually bad. And in order to have good, you do have to have the bad. In order to have light, you do have to have the darkness. And I don't see anything wrong with working with the darkness, even if you want to call it a darkness. You've got people who are Satanists, and automatically people think they do blood sacrifices and all sorts of sacrifices. You do know that Christianity do blood sacrifices, and that God asked, somebody to murder his friggin' son. We're not going to get into it, but you want to talk about sacrifices. Satanism, and again, there's different forms of Satanism. I don't believe that there is any wrong way to practice what you believe in. As long as you're not out there murdering people in the name of your God, or murdering or raping people because that is what your God wants or what your deity wants. Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know a whole hell of a lot about the left hand type of deal. Like I honestly don't. But I know that from listening to you talk about things, the subject at hand, I don't believe it's a bad thing at all. And I don't want to use the term dark, even though a lot of people associate dark with that, right? But I think it's a path that if you're pulled to, you're pulled to. That's your path, right? I don't think it's a bad thing. Do I think it's a good thing? Yeah, sure. If you're happy with it and you're working with it and that's what makes you happy, go for it.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, definitely. I mean, I think, for me, it's just like I said, I think embracing that part of me allows me to be, a better human being in my day-to-day life, right?
Yeah.
Like embracing the visual aspect of it, the spiritual aspect of it, all of those things. It's almost like therapy, right? It allows me to be, more of, a brighter person as an individual. rather than somebody that is constantly introverted and focusing on the negative things that have happened to me in my life. So I don't live in that place. I don't live in the negative place. So you look at me,
Easy
and
to live there, though.
It is easy to live there. But the thing is, if you look at me, people would think, well, dude, like you look like you're dark and depressed all the goddamn time. It's like, no, it's like it's the complete opposite, actually. Because of how I look and because of how I practice, I'm free of that because I'm giving it an outlet. I'm giving it a place to go. I'm taking that energy and I'm putting it into something creative and constructive instead of being destructive or self-destructive with it. Which is, that's a phase I went through. I went through the self-destructive phase,
We all have in order to get to where we need to be.
But I definitely think, it would be nice, like, so what Mystic said, to kind of talk about kind of like the past life thing, have an episode about that, maybe have you back on for that because you said you've gone through it.
Yeah, I want to go through it again because there's new things that I have been finding out in my own meditation and working. I meditate every day, and I do ask my guides and my higher self because I want to know more. I want to heal more. I want to move forward, and I know that I was put here for a reason. And I've been here numerous times. This is not my first time. It's definitely not my fourth time here either. And I want to know more. And each session that I have had, I've gone deeper and I've gone further. And that's what made me go into Reiki is my first past life that my first past life regression that I did. In that life, I was a healer. I was somebody that people came to get help. And then that opened my eyes up and I felt that path. Like I felt it. It wasn't like, oh, I need to go do that because I did this in the past life. When I unlocked that, I felt it. Like it's hard to explain what I felt. And the weirdest thing is that I met somebody that I didn't even know because I knew nobody in this province. I met somebody that was a Reiki master who was teaching it. And that person just came into my path after the fact that I had this done. So I think things get put in our way for a reason, whether we know what that reason is at the time or not. I believe people come to us for a reason. And whether it's 5 minutes or 5 years or 5 hours, they're there for a reason. And I think that's when my the first portion of my past life, she was put in my way so I would be able to connect with that. That's my belief. That's what I feel. That's exactly how I feel. And so that's what I did. And that's why I went with Reiki. And I've been doing it now for 7 years.
Yeah, I've always been interested in Reiki, but never curious enough to actually practice it, right?
It's a Japanese modality. It's based in Japan. And my lineage comes directly down from Usui, who taught his practice in Hawaii. And it's great. It's heavily practiced in Japan. People go to Reiki masters and Reiki level 1, 2s, and 3s because they actually work for them. It started coming to North America slowly, and about 5 years ago, it really blew up into mainstream society where hospitals were using it in cancer wards. My aunt had B lymphoma 3 years ago. She's now cancer free, but when she was doing her chemo, they had Reiki masters there working on chemo patients. So it just goes to show that something that happened in Japan that made its way into Hawaii and then made its way into mainstream society and westernized society in hospitals and doctors. Now they're all over the place. Now there's Reiki people all over the place. And then, of course, me saying this and somebody saying, well, that's not cultural appropriation. No, bitch. No. No.
I would do the same thing.
It was literally handed down through lineage. And a lot of people don't understand that because somebody back when this whole thing happened heard about what I did. And that's exactly what they were like. Oh, I heard she was going to do this ritual, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, bitch, because I was blessed to do it. Not everybody can go around and do it. It's not cultural appropriation. I was literally blessed. My lineage of Reiki goes back to the Usui master. Usui. It's called Usui Reiki.
Mm-hmm.
My lineage comes from Usui. It's the same thing with Ho'oponopono. Is a Hawaiian a ritual to release and love. And that was also blessed upon to me. And I've learned how to do that from a Hawaiian culture. And a lot of people like to say cultural appropriation. That's what this one bitch said. And it's like, you don't know nothing about me. You know nothing about who I am and what I have been allowed to do and what I have been blessed with, what I have worked with, what people, what tribes I have actually worked with.
Mm-hmm.
So who are you to go run your fat mouth off?
Yeah, I
Nobody.
mean, I think out of all the things with cancel culture, that's the one thing that pisses me off more than anything, because it's no longer cultural appreciation, it's cultural appropriation, and it's like, wait a minute, so I can't appreciate another culture, right?
What happens when that culture actually teaches you about it and allows you to move forward in that? Like I
Mm-hmm.
have many friends that are First Nations. And they have open drumming circles where they actually teach you drumming. Of course,
Mm-hmm.
there's special things that they do that they don't allow outsiders in, just like a coven, just like any other religion they have, right?
Mm-hmm.
In their culture, they're pretty open. Like they'll teach you how to drum. They will teach you drumming circles. They will show you how to hold your own drumming circle. How is that cultural appropriation when you are given the blessing to utilize such tools in your own practice? When the chief comes and the medicine woman comes and says, "Hey, we're giving this on to you. Go forward and do what you need to do." How is that cultural appropriation? You are
Mm-hmm.
literally being blessed by that culture, that culture's God, not God, but priest
Yeah.
or priestess. I'm
Yeah.
trying to think of the word to get out without, but you're literally given that blessing to
Mm-hmm.
utilize it. So I don't see how that's cultural appropriation. I can see wearing a sacred headdress and you're not First Nations, you're not part of that, and they have certain headwear that they do utilize for practice. I can say the same thing for witches. How dare you go around running your children dressed up as witches? That is a part of my life, a part of my culture. You're utilizing my religion, my culture, our dress for your fun children to go trick or treating in. Easily say that. You don't see witches up in arms. Oh my God, your children are witches. And no.
I'm pretty sure it's probably not too far away with the new generation, right? I mean, it's like, I mean, I
Yeah,
see
just
that
thinking
happening.
that.
you're not going to be able to be a witch. But I mean, closed, and I hate to use the word closed practice, but to that culture, a headdress has a specific meaning to it. So don't, and then I can see people getting upset about cultural appropriation, running around in a pink feathered headdress when that headdress actually has a meaning to that culture. But if you're sitting there and you're being blessed with something to utilize from that culture, I don't call that cultural
Well,
appropriation.
I'll throw one thing out there. So this is one thing that I've noticed. A lot of the people that like to bitch and complain and scream from the rooftops cultural appropriation are covered in tattoos. They got a lot of tattoos. I've noticed this for some reason. Most of them do. And it's like, oh, hey, jackass, did you know that you're culturally appropriating indigenous cultures like down in South America and in Africa that use tattoos
All over
as
the world.
that use
Nose piercing,
uh-huh.
ear piercing.
Exactly. That use those specific, markings for levels inside of their tribe, right? Like, did you realize that you're appropriating culture by using tattoos and having piercings? Do you realize that the stretching, ear stretching, or septum stretching, or like it's all comes from indigenous cultures.
Tribal tattoos. You know, every motherfucker's got a tribal tattoo on. Then where do you think that came from?
Exactly. And I got one on my leg.
People with tribal tattoos around their arms, and they've had it for the last how many years? Where do you think that came from?
Exactly, and it just irritates the piss out of me because the thing is, and okay, the biggest thing that irritates me is the people that are not of that culture feeling
Getting
the
upset.
need or necessity to get upset on behalf of a culture.
right, and that culture is not upset about it. So that I find hilarious. I'm offended for you. I'm offended for you. Because
Like,
you're obviously not offended, so I have to be offended for you and social justice for you because what they're doing to you is wrong.
Yeah, they started bitching about the big Mexican sombreros, like for Cinco de Mayo, right? The May 5th, in the States and shit like that. They're bitching about it. I was like, motherfucker, have you ever been to Mexico during Cinco de Mayo? You can't hit a fucking corner without seeing one of those goddamn hats trying to be sold to a fucking tourist. They want you to wear them.
Well, I can't see. I just don't see the Mexican culture losing their shit over that. I think they have other important things to worry about than somebody wearing a sombrero.
Like if you go
mariachi bands.
One thing I did down here, because I live in Jalisco, and Jalisco is the state where you find the city of tequila, which is where tequila is made, like actual, like the
and drink tequila is cultural appropriation,
right? So tequila itself, right, because of Russians or the Polish or for the French, because everybody makes vodka nowadays, But the thing is so the tequila is only tequila if it is made in Tequila, Jalisco, which is here. Anywhere else, it's mezcal, right? So if you find a mezcal is basically tequila, but they can't use the name because it's not made in tequila. Anyway, there's a Jose Cuervo is in tequila, and there's the Jose Cuervo train here. And you can, if you are willing to drop $250, $350, you can take the Jose Cuervo tour, which is you hop on the train and they have a mariachi band on the train. And when you get on the train, if you did the $350 package, they throw one of the big sombreros on you, and there are people taking pictures of you and selling the pictures with the hats while you're taking shots. And so it's a get drunk tour. That's what it is. Like by the end of the tour, you can't remember a goddamn thing you saw because you took so many fucking shots. So, they don't care about the big hats. But the thing is, it's a bunch of snotty-nosed white liberals that want to get pissed off on behalf.
I'm right here.
of everybody else.
Yeah.
And it's
usually
like
the far left. The far left. I have a lot of liberal friends that they don't get up in arms about this shit. I find that it's the ones that take it that much further.
It's narcissism.
That are the ones that are offended for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I want to make something very clear here. Okay, the goddamn Republicans and the right side of the aisle has their shit too. The conservatives are fucking jackasses too. I think the far right is worse because that's where you're going to find the racists. That's where you're going to find the sexists, the actual misogynists, the people that.
Both equal. I find your far left and your far right, they're equal because they're horrible human fucking beings. Sorry, but they are.
They just pick a different topic.
Yep.
Yeah.
The right wants to cancel artistic expression. They want to cancel music because they think they disagree with it, especially if it's like the religious right. So they want to, they want to cancel video games and music because of Satan and violence. And it's like, wait a minute.
They're just idiots.
And it's like, you want to cancel.
That on both ends.
Exactly. No, it's like you want to cancel, Call of Duty, but you're okay with sending your kid to Marine Corps at 18. It's like, I mean,
with society, if you're, with society and how the extreme left and extreme right, how they create things is now, if you're just a simple liberal and a simple conservative, you're either a racist or you're God knows what else over on this side. Just because you're a conservative or you may be a liberal. I'm a little bit of both. I'm a 50-50 bitch because I like what some of the conservative side has and I like what some of the liberal side have. And I'm that one in the middle. And, because of the far left and the far right, you now have people at each other's throat because, oh, you're conservative. You must be a racist.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just disgusting nowadays with everything.
It is overall. I mean, the thing is like people keep getting pushed farther and farther into a corner is how I look at it, right? Like with the way cancel culture is and everything like that, like people just kind of keep getting kind of pushed farther and farther into corners, to be one extreme or the other. And the thing is like there's no middle ground anymore, and that's the depressing part of it. I like to consider myself a classic liberal, like like if anything, I'm a classic liberal because growing up, I've always been on the left side of the aisle. As far as like how I see policy and things like that. Um, but conservative in other aspects. I think Mystic described it as fiscally conservative, but socially liberal.
Governmentally conservative, but socially liberal.
Yeah, exactly. Which describes me really well, as far as like my political leanings. But
libertarian-ish.
That's not acceptable anymore.
No, unfortunately, it is not. You either have to be extreme on weather level, and it's kind of disgusting to see because I have friends that were friends with other friends, but then they found out who that person voted for, and now you're the holy hell, you are Satan because you voted for a specific person. When did that ever? What the fuck happened? Like, you can know somebody for all your life, and then you find out who they voted for, and now they're a bigot, racist, whatever the hell people are using nowadays. And it's kind of sad to see that, those in the middle that just want a good life and they want everyone to be equal and everyone to have a good life, you're now picked on because you believe in one thing, but it's just like religion as well, right? Satanism, Wiccan, paganism, Judaism. We still got that war. We got numerous wars going on, all in the name of Holy Land.
Yep.
Right. So it's a sad and unfortunate time, and maybe one day we can all fix it. I have hope that one day that everyone will see their wrongs and start trying to mend and make it right.
Exactly. No, I think we're gonna start seeing kind of going back that direction soon, because
I've noticed a shift in energy. I stopped reading my tarot cards publicly, and I don't know if that was anything because of whatever. I stopped reading them a few months back. This was after the whole hate brigade. I was still reading my cards heavily in January and February, and then around, I want to say March, is where I felt the need to not read publicly as much as I did. I still do one card here and there, but I was reading publicly religiously. And then something, energy shit, I don't know what it is, but it was something was telling me to pull in and protect. And now I wear jewelries and stones that I'd never worn before, but felt I needed to wear. I was guided to put on to protect myself. So there's a shift happening. There's something happening. I don't know what, but there is something happening.
No, I definitely feel it. I mean, for me, it's obviously more personal. Like we talked about that before.
Yeah.
Like one of the reasons why I haven't been able to do tarot for a while is because, especially like, about 3 weeks ago, like my dad passed away, and like my brain is just not, it's just not there. Like I can't fathom trying to help someone else, when my own energy is not in balance. And I know it's not in balance. Like,
can't
because
help others if you can't help yourself first, right? We have to learn to love and repair that again in order for us to help other people.
And I'm also, like, another thing I'm trying to understand is, I swear to God, like the day after he died, I was sitting right here, where I normally sit, I was working normal classes. I had like 2 hours free, and I figured, I'm going to put my feet up and go to sleep. So I grabbed my stool, put my feet up, and kind of closed my eyes a little bit. And just as I started dozing off, I swear I heard his voice say my name. I'm not going to say my real name,
right,
over the interwebs here, but and I've never had anything like that happen to me before, ever.
Yeah.
And so that really kind of clicked something inside of me, and I think like my brain is also really on that right now. Like still, like I'm still trying to understand. Like, I mean, Mystic made a very valid point to me. He's like, you either accept it or you don't, because if you try to figure it out, what's going to happen is you're going to talk yourself out of it being real. Because
every time
there's, and my in my head, I accept it and I believe that it's real, but at the same time, there's that part of me that's trying to figure out if that was actually him, Is there something he wants to say that he didn't say?
No, but the reason why you don't feel him right now is because you need to heal, and he knows if he was to stay, the healing process would not take place. And so if you're not feeling him, which I kind of know that you're not feeling him in the presence or around your energy field, because he knows that you need to heal and move on. Once you realize where you need and what you need, you're going to feel a presence again. And yes, every time someone passes, they always try to connect with their loved one, but their realm is completely different than our realm. And they work differently. Time is everything is different on that realm. So they are actually getting a bird's eye view of you. And if they know that you are hurting, they will detach a little bit, but not like leave you like, yeah, fuck you, I'm out. It's more of, I know you need to heal. So I'm going to step back a bit. And my sister was going through the same thing when her father passed. It was, she felt his heavy presence, and then all of a sudden he wasn't there anymore. And she was like, was it real? And I said, yes, it was real, but he knew you were hurting so badly that if he stayed and had his presence there, his presence would have caused you not to heal properly. So she started to mend herself, and it took her a while. It took her a long time, but she did, and now she starts to feel his presence again. So if you felt that his presence isn't there anymore, or you thought it wasn't real, it really is. He just wants you to be able to heal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think about it. This is very like obviously very similar, but you know, if you think like the energy's there, there's no such thing as it is to me that it is or isn't real. It's there, like
It's
it
there.
just is. But you know, and when we start second guessing ourselves or saying, you know, was it really him? Then you're going to convince yourself it's not every time because you haven't healed yet. You're still working on that. But
Yeah.
you know, I've seen all kinds of things, and I wonder. I used to wonder, like, did that actually happen? Did I really see that out of the corner? It must have been a trick of my mind. It must. No. And when you start accepting that those signs and things are real and they're actually happening, like the peace that you get out of that is just
Yep.
insane. It's like, holy crap, this stuff really is real, and it's because that energy's there.
Yep.
You know, I had
He's
somebody
not
explain it to
gone.
me. Yeah, I had somebody explain it to me like a disco ball, right? Like the soul group, and I've seen this in multiple different people explaining it this way. Like, you know, the soul group or the universal source can be thought of as the disco ball. Everything's already tethered there. You know, were you with your father when he passed away physically? No. Well, yeah, you were. You greeted him when he came to the other side because your soul is still attached and blah blah blah. You know, all that stuff. But
Yeah.
I just
They're there. They don't leave us, but they lessen their present feel so you can heal. When I started on my like intuition, a lot of people second guess their intuition, and then they kick themselves in the ass because they don't think it's real. Oh, that can't be real. We all have it. Animals have it. It's that sixth sense. And once you start understanding it and feeling it and trusting it, you then realize, oh shit, I should have been doing this the whole time.
huh.
But I don't believe that he is completely gone. And I know Malice has a few that guide him, mainly on the left hand side of his shoulder, but his he needs to heal a little bit.
Yeah,
They're
and
there.
let them be there. Like that was one of the things I had a really hard time with. Is and it was a whole lesson for like an entire year. My mentor, the only word she would say to me is allow. She's like,
Yep.
allow. And I kept thinking allow as in controlling and allowing things to happen. She's like, no, 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 no. Give up the control to allow. I was like,
Yep.
okay, I get you now. It took me a while. I get there.
Yep. Yeah,
You
but
know?
you will get there on your time when you are ready, right?
Right.
That's the whole thing. It's divine. I believe in that divine timing. When you are ready, the things will happen to where it needs to be, right? We do fight it sometimes and we want it rushed, but when we rush things, it usually backfires.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. The
Yeah.
dog. Yeah, I know. The dog. The dog. I heard like the dog was like. I heard something really, really loud. I was like, "What the hell is the dog doing?" and apparently she got a hold of my my protein mixing bottle.
Oh,
That
no.
has it has like a little plastic ball on the inside of it, which is designed
The
to kind
shaker
of
bottle.
to
Shaker?
break up the protein,
Yep.
and that's what the whole top completely destroyed.
That's awesome.
Yeah, no, I'm a little bit irritated, but I mean, it's only like a $10 bottle, so I'm not gonna like cry over it.
Right.
But we try to block her out of the living room, so we put chairs. We put two chairs there, and she's learned that if she runs and she jumps at the chair, it moves a little bit. So she does this. She runs back and forth and hits the chair until it
That's
goes
funny.
far enough back, and she can get into the living room. And yeah, so that's going to be an interesting conversation to have here in a little while when a particular person gets home. So this has been. I mean, Ra, if you notice, like you've been here the whole 2 hours.
She didn't text me. My spawn's in the room next door to me, and I told her if she needs me, she just text me. She hasn't
Okay.
texted me, so
Oh, there you go. There you
right
go.
behind
I mean,
that wall, right there.
the scary face wall.
Yep.
So this has been an enlightening episode. This has been really fun. It's been a good change of pace for us, I think. It's always nice having you on.
So,
You know, you've
love being here.
well, you've always got amazing opinions, and I think for me personally, I think it gives you an opportunity to kind of break a little bit out of what it is that you do when you're on stream. You know, because I know that on stream you're 100% like kind of like almost 100% dedicated to like horror content. You know.
Oh yeah,
So-
I live and breathe that shit. But on my stream, that's exactly what it's about. That's my niche, right? I don't really talk outside of that niche because a lot of the people that come into the community are there for different reasons. But once you start talking about witchcraft or whatever it may be, you get some people like, oh my God, right? So
Yeah.
when I can sit down with like-minded people or people who are open-minded and have conversations like this, we touched a lot of friggin' subjects in 2 hours.
Yeah, we did. Like we went places I didn't think it was going to go.
I've got a lot of new topics we need to dive into now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd love to come back on and talk and chit chat. I enjoyed this.
If it wasn't for the fact that your schedule is so all over the place, and then also like the fact that you've got personal stuff going on right now, I would like to have you on as like a semi-permanent fixture, on the program. I would love to have you on, but I know that like you've got a lot on your plate, like with your content, YouTube, Twitch, TikTok, things like that. Your family,
yeah.
TikTok.
Yep. I'm trying. I was on the witch talk side of TikTok, and then I slowly started to disappear from the witch side of TikTok because it's just, so now I'm on the horror side of TikTok.
Yeah, I think when you get it, like, I think right now horror is probably more of an agreeable subject to people. Like it used to be that like witchcraft, like regardless of like what you practice as far as witchcraft is concerned, there was like a general consensus that everybody was respectful when we were younger. Now it's just like, no, you can't do that because of XYZ thing.
But it's a lot of the young ones that are doing that. Like I said, I know a lot of witches on Witch Talk that are from different levels. Some are from covens, some are solitary witches, some have been in covens and solitary and vice versa. And none of them think that way.
Mm-hmm.
It's these young ones that are coming up, and maybe they've been in the practice for 5 or 7 years or even 10 years, but they've only learned one modality of their religion. They don't realize that there are several other areas of this religion. It's not just Wicca. They tend to think that Wicca is like the oldest religion out there. No, Wicca is
like
still
the
new.
youngest.
It is the youngest, right? But people don't realize that, and they believe that every witch does this and that. And there's lots of different shit out there, people. Lots of different shit out there. People do their own path. That's the whole amazing thing about this, is that you're not having to follow one specific path. You create what you feel you need.
Mm-hmm.
Why isn't that, held up?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's depressing. It's depressing to see that, like the bureaucracy.
Yeah.
Just
kind
of
the
like
North Side, where people were saying that people of color specifically Black people, were not allowed in Norse religion. Huh?
Yeah, no, that
That
doesn't make any sense. Yeah.
what? Religion, especially Norse pagan, they were always open and welcoming. There is, don't get me wrong, there is a part that they consider themselves Norse pagan, but we're not going to get into that are, very closed off and only certain type of people can join in. They don't even allow outside of Scandinavian people to join in, right? Now, we're not talking about that kind of Norse, but there was this whole big controversy about it, and everyone who is a true Norse pagan were just like, no, no, everybody is welcomed. Our God doesn't say, okay, our gods don't say, okay, you're not this skin color. That's it. You can't work with us. Deities aren't like that.
I mean, sadly, the neo-Nazis grabbed onto Norse paganism because, in fact, it comes from Scandinavia, and in the area, it was predominantly white-colored people. Not to say that there wasn't anybody that was darker skinned, but it was predominantly lighter skin colored people. So they took it as the go-to kind of faith for their Nazism, and it's sad and it's pathetic, because the thing is if you want to bring something back, if you want something to be successful, if you want something to grab hold, it only makes sense to leave it open to everyone. And instead of limiting it to a small group of people that you deem okay for it, right? And it's sad to see, like, there's always going to be racist people. There's always going to be racism. There's always going to be bias. There's always going to be discrimination. There's always going to be fear of what is different.
Always.
And
you want to know? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say that I think it's our responsibility, as those that are on the other side of the fence of this, to make sure that that's not seen as the predominant aspect of what it is that we believe in.
Yeah.
So, sorry.
Do you want to know the words that I said that people started the hate brigade against me?
Well, what did you say exactly?
My words were, we should never see people by the color of their skin. We shouldn't even see their color. We should see them for the human that they are. If you are a shitty human and treat people like shit, then you should be looked at as a piece of shit. If you are somebody who treats somebody with respect and love, then you're a good person. And we should not see people by their sex. Plain and simple, we should not see color and we should not see their sex. We should see the person for who they are. And that is what almost got me canceled.
Oh yeah, I remember people getting pissed off about that.
They cut it up and made it turn into something totally different than what I said.
Yeah, I mean there are people that started flipping out about the whole comment is I don't see color. It's like,
I wasn't raised to judge somebody because you're white, black, brown, tan, whatever. I wasn't raised that way. I wasn't raised to see someone by their skin color. I was raised to see somebody by how they treat others. I wasn't raised to say, you're gay, I can't be friends with you. Oh no, you're going to try to convert me. No, I wasn't raised that way. I was raised to see the people for who they are.
Look, let me tell you something. I was friends with gay people in college that did try to convert me, and I was still friends with them after the fact.
I'm not saying there isn't. I'm not saying there isn't, but the thing is that I wasn't raised to see your color of your skin. I wasn't raised that way. I was raised to see people for who they are, not what they wear, what they look like. Right?
Exactly. No,
but
and I think
again, I come from a different era as well.
Yeah. No, of course. I think, all three of us do. I think the most left-leaning person here would be Mystic. And I think Mystic is, probably one of the most reasonable
leaning left enough. Or is that right? Is it reversed? It's reversed, isn't it? Shit.
Yeah, and he's one of the more reasonable ones that I've met, because
not reasonable, just a little more reasonable than some.
Because the thing is him and I have gone, like, we had the we had the dreaded conversation that I always dread having with people, about politics. And I was afraid.
Yeah.
I was afraid that he was going to stop being friends with me once I told him, and he didn't. And what was that? I
What a
voted for
mistake that was.
I voted for Donald Trump in 2016.
But see, I don't, and that's the thing is that we are adults. We should be able to have open conversations with our friends and not have to worry about our friends looking at us in any other way other than being our friend. It shouldn't matter who you voted for.
Mm-mm. Well, people have gotten into this all or nothing crap. Like it has
I
to be
know.
one or the other. But the thing that I try to remind myself is people make their just because the decision isn't what I would make for the reason that I wouldn't have made it. It's the same reason why people would have made that decision for reasons that I
Right.
wouldn't have made it. So, we have
But
different
having that
perspectives.
openness and being able to talk about it without getting your feelings hurt.
Well, I
that's
think
the biggest thing.
I think for me with him, being able to talk to him about that and not have him freak out and like go full on SJW on my ass, like really kind of for me solidified our friendship to the point that like I honestly consider him my best friend.
And that's good, and that's great that you both can have those conversations and come from totally two different areas. Like, and I think that's how we should be this way. We should be able to listen to our friend and have different of opinions and still be friends.
Mm-hmm. And it's
We
one
don't
of the
agree
reasons.
on everything, but I'm
No.
not. Alice, that's it. Fuck you. I'm out.
No,
right?
we don't.
Like,
And I mean,
Well, if there's
I've
ever
noticed...
a hate brigade against Malice, let me know. I'll sign up. Just saying.
And the thing is like, I mean, you and I have had a great minute. I mean, Ra, I knew you I think before you started streaming. Like, I mean, I
possibly.
like in Cranky's chat.
Yeah, possibly. My
like,
first time before I streamed on Mixer on Beam at the time, I only started streaming on February 14th. I was on Beam in December of 2016. I was on Beam and I didn't start streaming until February 14th of 2017.
Yeah, then I'm pretty sure I knew you before you started streaming. I knew you or knew of you before you started streaming. And then like after you started streaming is like really kind of like when we really started touching base, talking, hanging out. And then to be completely honest, it wasn't until after Mixer fucking died that we really, really connected, and really started talking.
We aren't supposed to connect until it's supposed to connect. That's how I look at it. People come into our lives when we're supposed to meet them. If we rush anything, that's usually when it turns to shit. And I believe we're all brought together for a reason, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whatever the reason is.
I agree with that, and I mean I like having people that have a difference of opinion, but also have obviously things that kind of like bring us together and that we have in common. And I think that as human beings, we have more in common than we do have things that make us different. I think being an individual is an amazing thing, and celebrating your individuality is absolutely wonderful. But I don't think that a person celebrating their individuality should sacrifice, the ability to coexist with other people that are different than you. And I think society has reached the point where right now we're at a point at a junction where individuality is overriding social coexistence.
There's no more free thinking. There's no more critical thinking either. That's all out the
That's for
window.
sure.
And it's sad. It's sad to see. It's really sad to see that that's how things are happening. And it's just like, and as pagans, I mean, especially like, I mean, I'm not saying I'm anything fucking special, but because I'm on like the darker end of the spectrum here, it's particularly dangerous, when, especially with the right wing, like I feel in danger sometimes when it comes to like the evangelicals, right? I get scared around those fucking, those are like the Southern gun-toting, like God freaks.
Yeah, I don't have that here, so I don't.
Like
I live
those
in the
guys.
Bible Belt.
Okay,
But,
well, I mean, no,
and they are gun-toting to a certain extent, but not like that.
No, these guys are crazy. Like, I mean, and then you get people like, this, this woman that was spouting her hate, and then the amount of like what Mystic said, to see the actual amount of people that subscribe to her nonsense. You know, it's nerve wracking because the thing is like, it makes me feel like, all right, what if one of these idiots just happened to cross paths with me, you know, and you know they see the pentagram or something like that, and they decide to pull a weapon because they think that they're saving my soul or other people's souls by taking me off the planet.
It's
you know,
scary.
It's possible.
And it is possible. We've had witch burnings. Germany, worldwide, people, women and children, and some men were murdered at the hands of Protestant men and over in the United Kingdom, and then coming over into the 13 colonies at the time. But witch trials were a real thing. People died because other people believed in something that somebody was not. And many of the people who died at their hand were not witches. They were innocent people. It was just different. Right?
Exactly. You know, and it's terrifying to think that could happen again for any reason at all. You know,
it will.
It's kind of scary that a lot of things in history are going to repeat itself. I'm not going to get into that here, but
it will.
It's scary. That's all I have to say. And as a Canadian, I'm very scared as a Canadian. That's a whole other topic.
I mean, you guys, I mean, people think that Canada is all fucking like flowers and roses and maple syrup and shit, but
It used to be until we have our drama teacher who likes dictatorship. But yeah, that is not a topic for tonight.
Yeah, probably not.
Hold on, let me write that on the list here.
I don't mind. I don't mind having my conversations. Not at all. And I know it's not a topic for tonight, but yeah. And
I mean, I think
away here.
Yeah, I think if we're gonna do politics at any level, I would make that recorded only and direct upload to Spotify.
Yeah.
No faces. Like that if we're gonna do a political discussion, that's how that would not be a live discussion.
You really want to get me canceled, hey? No. Unfortunately, these people follow me everywhere I go, so it doesn't really matter. They listen to everything. If they know that I'm here, they're watching in an incognito window. They are the first people to hit dislike on a video that doesn't need to be disliked. They're the first people to make it. They don't make comments, but they dislike. They watch what I do, and then they tweet things. And then I don't pay attention to them, but I have people say, "Hey, you just said this in stream. This person just said this on their Twitter." I'm like, doesn't surprise me. I'm hated by certain people.
Well, they say if nobody hates you, you're not doing it right. Like, so
I'm pissing people off left, right, and center. And it's small, like I said, it's small, tiny, minute
group of people.
Right?
Yeah, well, you know.
People think there's nothing else, and Twitter is the end all and be all. Look, there's a whole fucking world out there besides Twitter.
This is true. I mean, I think it was either Marilyn Manson or like Alice Cooper that said this, that your success should be measured by the amount of people that hate you. Because I think like kind of like if you think about it like as a rock star perspective, if you have a concert in a city and you have troves of right-wing Christians coming with picket signs, you made it. You're successful. Because
that's like that. Live your life in a way that the Westboro Baptist would picket your funeral.
Oh my God! I don't know if I want to get into Westboro Baptists.
No, I don't either.
I unfortunately do have to go because she's signaling me from the room.
Okay, no, not a problem. I appreciate you being here. We've gone over the 2 hours, Rod. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on. All right,
I had a pleasure. Thank you so much.
All right, and we'll catch you around the next time. All right, we'll see you later.
All right, have a great night, both of you.
Yeah, take
Good
care.
Night.
Bye.
Bye. All righty. That was good, man.
Yeah, I'm tired. Yes, it was really good. I had a blast. That was fun.
That was fun. You know, I think I mean Ra's always good to have on. You know, I think is that your first time having this your first time doing a podcast with her, yeah?
Podcast with her, yeah. I've been in her chat, and we've talked a couple times, but in chat and stuff. But
Yeah,
it's kind of few and far between. But I usually go in there and lurk while she's doing her stuff because I find her content very, very easy to digest and just kind of be. You know what I mean? It's a nice place to lurk.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, I think having different personalities come on here. I mean, I would have liked to see you talk more, but I guess we didn't give you much of an opportunity, so I apologize about that.
Well, I'm checking my phone constantly, doing text and stuff. So I knew today wasn't going to be the best.
Yeah, no, I mean, I get you, man. So, but I mean, definitely, I had a blast. It was good to hang out with you, man. Like, it would have been cool to see drunk you again, though. Like, I think you had one glass of wine.
I did have one glass of wine. So unfortunately, no drunk tonight. And next week I'll be driving 1,118 miles on Thursday night, and then 1,118 miles back on Saturday night. But after that, I should be back on a normal. Well, kind of normal. Are we on stream?
Yeah, we're still on stream.
Double checking. Okay. So I just know how much to limit my information, right? The thing I'm going through right now with work is a weekend deal. It's super stressful. It is going to happen again around June 15th and again around July 1st.